Hello there, and welcome to 10 tips and tricks for a good starting and early game phase in Age of Wonders 4. There's a lot of things that you can do early on which give you a lot of speed, power, and are repeatable for pretty much any build, and therefore, let's get started right away. Number one I want to talk about is when you start out a new game, you should be fully focused on exploration first. Uncovering many parts of the map is a bonus on itself, but there's also so much free resource lying around everywhere that you can grab, which just gives you a real nice advantage. Therefore, try to focus when you start the game in building scouts. Don't mess up too much army. You really want to know where you can grab free stuff and where to put down your cities. You want to find those wonders and you want to find those magical resources. These are the things that make a good spot for a city. Number two, there are a few things that you can do for the tricking the scouting mechanism a little bit. In Age of Wonders 4, you don't need a leader to move troops along the map. Therefore, we can do something nice like this. This guy moves over here. This guy moves over there. That guy moves over here. And as you see here, a banner of 6 people can really cover quite a lot of area in terms of scouting early on. You can, if you expand that, in the first few turns, scout out nice areas for your first cities to build. Another nice thing to note here is that roads typically lead through the world from one city to another. This gives you an early idea of where the neutral cities are at, and following a road usually leads you also to attractive spots where you can build cities at. Served me quite nicely most of the time. Number 3, the city slots that you got should be filled as quick as possible, but here's a few things to note. City number 2, as quick as you can. Just the first best place that you find, plant it down, build it up as quick as you can. City number 3 can exist a while as an outpost. The thing is, after setting up city number 2, you need to check on out how good your wallet is set up, because the city that you can't cultivate is only so much worth and it needs to be defended at the end of the day. But city number 2, extremely fast. Get it down as quick as you can. City number 3, also as quick as it is feasible. You need to check on out if you can afford it to get yourself that down, but if you can, by all means, it is so good to have cities as quick as you can. But also note, every city that you have is sort of a responsibility, and massing up too many responsibilities in the early game, the higher the difficulty goes, the easier you can be swept off of your feet in the transition from the early to mid game by something invading your area. Number 4, threat location. This is another thing that you want to do in the early game. Find out where the threat will come from. In this scenario, for example, I have discovered this city, which will regularly send war parties. This means this direction is one that I need to defend. If you find a gold infestation spawner, that is also a threat location that you need to get under control. Locating the direction from which the attackers will come is invaluable, because that gives you the intel where you can rack up a little bit of an extra troop, so you don't need to sweat it if they come attacking. So do that early on, prepare yourself early on, and you're pretty well set for the mid-game. Number 5, loot-driven expansion. With this I mean that you never know what kind of stuff you'll find below these buggers here. They all come with different loot below themselves. You never see it even before you beat them. And long story short, make your pace of expansion rely on the speed of looting, so to speak. There's so many things that you can pick up, and so many things that will speed up the development of cities, making it so that I rarely have 2 early games that are alike to one another. Sometimes you loot stupid amounts of food, but almost no gold, for example. In these scenarios, don't build all these provinces at once to ruin your city stability. Keep them for later. Sometimes you find extreme amounts of gold. This gives you the opportunity to rush some buildings. You could go for a very early tier 3 town hall, for example. These things are possible, whatever happens. And the long story short is, in the early game, keep an eye out on which opportunities arise, which resource masses up and such, and use this to drive your victory into that direction. Number 6, don't rush too early into fights. So when you are starting out your first 10 turns, you have a starting hero with a starting army. Most of the time, not too much to write home about. Only fight the fights that are really worth it. Only fight open the resource nodes that you want to climb. Only fight open the things that don't make you lose troops. Very, very important. The thing here is, once your main army is big enough, you will have no problem whatsoever to take sometimes 3 battles in one turn. No problem at all. You will have almost no casualties. If you force these little meaningless fights too early on, you will steadily have to recuperate your armies. You have then no fighting power if you get attacked. You are not fully rested up if you find something really attractive that you want to fight for. In short, pick your battles wisely in the early game. It'll get so much easier later down the road to destroy all those enemies down out there, because they don't grow stronger. The game doesn't work like that, so you don't need to be in a hurry there. Number 7, try to rush the tier 2 as soon as possible. With that I mean the tier 2 town hall. Access to these tier 2 cultural troops is such a big advantage. It makes all the difference between having troops that have almost no longevity in the long run, between troops that you will be able to use to some degree, even in the late game, because tier 2 troops might be the lowest rung of the relevant troop ladder, but they are still relevant for the remainder of the game. There's a little bit of a difference with troops on tier 1 that have the ability to get promoted or evolve. That being said, tier 1 troops usually shouldn't be focused on in the later stages of the game, and these guys are way better spent money than these guys, and turns. Therefore, try to get your capabilities in unit production at that point as quick as you can. It'll pay off. Number 8, the early game Imperium spendage. So Imperium points are very valuable at all points of the game. But in the early game, they are doubly as valuable, because there's a couple of things that you just want to have, and cities, they also cost Imperium. Here's the point. For me, personally, I always invest into cities first, and then into the skills later. But sometimes, for example here, I actually delayed the 3rd city to get the fruitful integration up before I did that, because it actually was worth more than the amount of than the short-term gains. You have to weigh it off carefully, but in general, it's way better to spend your early game Imperium on the raw expansion and then later on the sophistication. Misspending your early game Imperium can really, really slow down your early game. Therefore, like I said, keep it up for the cities first and then spend other things later. Number 9, milking the early game encounters properly. So there's 2 types of things that I'm talking about. For one, there are infestation camps. Sadly, I've cleared them here in this demo already, but infestation camps can be milked in 2 ways. There's the Call of Chaos skill, and there's the Pacification skill. Both of them give you pretty nice rewards for clearing infestations. I'd strongly recommend, if you have them available for your build, and you want to build them, don't clear a single infestation before you have learned them, because you'll miss out on nice payoff, and infestations don't wake up in the early game. They can't sit there. Here's one. They can't sit there and wait until you have what you need. But if you don't plan to invest into any of these, you don't need to delay anything. Just bash them. The other thing is knowledge extraction. If your build leans into shadow affinity, and I strongly recommend that you should alone for this skill, you should have this before going into any battle that involves a hero. Here again, often you have the freedom to wait it out because they don't move, they don't grow stronger, nothing, but you would miss out 150 knowledge points, which are, in the early game, when you start out, you have 60 knowledge per turn. So, this does matter a lot. Delaying like this can give you a higher payoff than just rushing into things. And number 10, work towards stability when you transition alongside of the early game. The thing is, when your cities grow, the city stability will fall. A low city stability decreases the productivity of the city. Therefore, have an eye on the ability to build taverns and bathhouses as quick as possible. As you see here, the tavern gets boosted by 2 farms, and this is something that I personally try to get my hands on as quick as possible when I build a new city. It's always for me farm, forest, quarry, farm. These provinces in that order give you everything you need to develop the city, build it up, and then have all the things that you need for the basic development boosted. It does sometimes differ a little bit because some cultures don't like to start with a farm, but in general, you get the idea. 2 farms for the tavern are so much worth it, and the sentiment here is generally if you don't keep an eye out on the city stability beforehand, your transition from the early to the mid game will here again be slowed by losing a pretty hefty chunk of productivity of your city. Stability, if it goes too deep, can be even destroying singular provinces and is therefore something you need to control. Unless you're a dark culture, then you don't need to care. But in general, this is one of the things that you can already prepare during your conquest through the early game before it does throw a stick between your legs. All right, that's that. That's been the 10 tips that I had for the early game and the starting phase. I'm pretty sure there's more to say, so if you have something on your mind, feel free to fill the comment section with it. Feel also free to leave a like or a subscription, and if you'd be so kind to support the channel, feel free to. There's the YouTube channel membership system and a couple of links downstairs below in the description box. Whatever you do, I want to say a big thanks to all of the supporters of Icon Gaming, and I also want to say a big thanks to you here right now for watching this video, taking your time through my ad rambling and everything. I really appreciate that. I hope you had a good time, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.